created the world through the Torah. Torah is the blueprint for creation. And just like God looked in the blueprint in the Torah to create the world, so too with each of us, our world, our personal world, is connected to the Torah that we learn. When you study the inner dimension of Torah, in which godliness is revealed, so too in the world, in your world, godliness is more revealed. The miraculous divine revelation is more visible, it's more apparent and more tangible because of the study of the inner dimension of Torah. When you study the part of Torah where godliness is more revealed, so too in your world, godliness is more revealed. So in the day when God revealed to us this inner dimension of Torah, it's a day when tremendous blessings of all different kinds, for health, for parnasa, for shidduch, and most of all, it's a day of blessings for people who need a bracha for children. Let's say l'chaim for all those who need a bracha to be healthy, all those need a bracha for a shidduch, all those who need a bracha for parnasa, and all of us need a bracha that the plague should end, just like it ended thousands of years ago, in days of Rabbi Akiva, when 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva were suffering from a plague, and the plague ended tonight, on this night. So too, let's say l'chaim together that God should end this horrible plague and bring us the goodness and sweetness of the coming of Mashiach b'karev mamish. L'chaim, l'chaim. Tonight we have with us incredible speakers who are going to inspire us. First of all, we have with us the Marda Asra, the Rabbi Reichik, who will please share with us a few words of inspiration. Please give your attention to Rabbi Reichik.
First of all, l'chaim, everyone. L'chaim. Thank you, Rabbi Levin. And tonight is Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer, we commemorate two things. Rabbi Levin mentioned that there was a plague of 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva who passed away from Pesach till Lag BaOmer. And also it is the Hilula, the passing of Rabbi Shimba Yochai, who was a student of Rabbi Akiva. And Rabbi Shimba Yochai said on the day of his passing, there should be simcha. We don't say tachnun. The concept is so great that even there was a student, Rabbi Avraham Halevi, who was a person who said Nachem, even on Shabbos, and he came like BaOmer to the Ashpi and said Nachem. And Ashpi later came on, he revealed himself, to these great tzaddikim, and he told this Rabbi Avraham that he's going to be punished, or to the Arizal, because he said Nachem on the day of Lag BaOmer. So Lag BaOmer is a very great day. So we have to now combine these two things of Shimba Yochai and about the students of Rabbi Akiva. Now, who was the one who expressed that Avas Yisrael is the greatest part of Torah? Is Rabbi Akiva. Anyone who says the 12 psukim, Torah passages, what the Rebbe instituted, were to say that in 1976, the Rebbe instituted 6 of them on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and the second 6 was on a Lag BaOmer parade Tuesday, like this year Tuesday, at the parade, Lag BaOmer parade for children. So Rabbi Akiva is the one who says that Avas Yisrael v'ahavta l'recha kamocha is a very general point of Torah. So how is it possible that his students, why was there the plague? Because it says his students did not honor one to the other properly. How is it possible? And that's why they were punished. So here we have a few questions. First of all, if there were students of Rabbi Akiva, so surely they took the message of Rabbi Akiva, you have to love your fellow as yourself. So one student should have loved the other. So how could it be that they were arguing and they did not have the right respect one for the other? That's question number one. Question number two is, for not loving a Jew properly, there's no death penalty. So how is it possible that they all died in that period of time between Pesach and Lag BaOmer? The person can be punished in those different sins that a person does. So there is lashes, rabbinical lashes, censored, but not death penalty. And here, 24,000 students died. And we can understand, you cannot say that they all came to the bridge, that they all had to die in there, and their cup was full of negativity, because he didn't have 24,000 students at one time. It took years and years. So then how could it be that all passed away and there were only 5 or left? And from those 5, Rabbi Akiva went. Imagine, Rabbi Akiva was old and he had toiled, and he started to learn when he was 40. And then 24 years he was learning, he learned, and he got all these students. And then afterwards it was left only 5 students, and one of them was Rabbi Shimon, and he started to learn with them Torah. And today what we have, the oral Torah, is from this leftover 5 students of Rabbi Akiva. So what happened here? And what happened like BaOmer that it stopped? So the Rebbe explains in short that each one was a student of Rabbi Akiva, and they were really into it. And since Rabbi Akiva teaches, one of his main teaching was that you have to love your friend like yourself. So each student tried to explain how they feel what Rabbi Akiva meant. That means Rabbi Akiva left it broad that for every student to learn. Now, doing tefillin, mezuzahs, all that is the same, but the concepts of it, or the learning of it, the feeling of it, he left everyone to their own. That each one, you have 2 students, and 2 students can learn the same subject, and one will arouse with love to Hashem, the other one will arouse with fear to Hashem. So you have here each student who were truth to the core. So each student felt that they understood the best way how we could reach to the potential what Rabbi Akiva wants. And since they had Avos Yisrael, so each student tried to influence his friend. His friend had a different approach. And his friend wanted to explain him this, his way. So they didn't argue and they hate one another, but they couldn't respect one another properly because each one felt that I have the right level, what the Rebbe really means, and you are off. And the other guy said, no, I have the right intention and you are off. So therefore they couldn't respect one another. That's number 1. What happened over here? There were 24,000 students in one area. So the Rebbe says that came at Ayin Hara. The Rebbe brings about the idea of 24. Wherever you walked, who are you? A student of Rabbi Akiva. Who are you? A student of, wow, so many students. And they were in one place where everyone went around and said, this is great. This is the students of Rabbi Akiva. So there was an evil eye over here. People started to be jealous. People started to be jealous. So the evil eye had an impact. So it wasn't only because they didn't respect. It was something else caused it. But if they would respect one another, they would be all united as one. If you would be united as one, so it's like if your skin is whole and there's no cracks, so even if something falls on the skin, you just wipe it away and you're fine. If there's a crack on the skin and something falls on the skin, what shouldn't be there, so then it penetrates into the body, and then the person gets sick. Same thing with evil eye. If everyone is united together and we're not fighting around exactly what did the Rebbe mean, then we're protected. If there's an evil eye, so it's a time of anger, a time with not stability. So then, if we're not united together, the thing could penetrate. So as we find that there's a time which is not a perfect time, so even for a small thing, a person, God forbid, could be punished. And that's why these people were punished in that time. It wasn't because only they didn't respect one another. It was such a period of time, it was a time of judgment. And as the Rebbe explains, according to Kabbalah, time of Sfira is a time of judgment. And since it was a time of judgment, so once they weren't really connected one on another properly, then they were harmed. What happened at Lag BaOmer? Lag BaOmer was a very important part of it. Each one realized that the other person is also right. We're different one from another. So therefore, one person feels that what the Rebbe taught arouses him to such one level to serve Hashem, and the other person feels it's a different way. But they're all right, they're not going to go against Torah. So once they came to realize that they're all in the same boat, but each one thinks differently, and they're emotionally, how we are wired in our emotions, one is different from the other, but each one has a derech, what fits to the generally teaching of Rabbi Akiva, then that stops. So what does Lag BaOmer teach us? Lag BaOmer teaches us that if you see someone doing something, and you know he's a chassid for me, it is a little different than what you do it, as long as it fits to the general teachings of the Rebbe, we have to love him, respect him, or respect her, and not to come along and say, well, you're not doing it exactly how the Rebbe wants it, and I understand better than you. Now, if the person is not doing it all exactly what they're supposed to, that's already, so there's a way how to rebuke, how the Rebbe explains in 32nd chapter of Tanya. But if generally they're going on the right path, but there's something that you feel that maybe they can do better, but they're not doing something wrong, but it's not the way how you want things to be done, we have to respect one another. That's what we have to realize, that we're all different and our emotions are different. Now, what is Harishim B'Yachai? We see something spectacular.
What happened to the sound?
With the R. To protect himself. So the Gemara tells us.
Rabbi Reichek, you were muted for a minute. We couldn't hear you. So you said if someone is not making a big mistake, so then you should be respectful to them. What if they make a big mistake?
No. I said when they make a big mistake. I was muted entirely.
For a few seconds.
I said if they make a big mistake, so the Rebbe explains, not a mistake. We're not talking mistakes. If a person makes a mistake, the Rebbe alone explains in the 32nd chapter of Tanya that you have to the way how to respond with avasiso, with great love. I was there by a Farbrengen, but it's Parshas Emor, the Rebbe mentions it in Emor, that even if we see someone doing wrong, so the Rebbe says you have to pull him with great ropes of love. What happens if you weren't successful? So he did not miss the mitzvah of avasiso. So even though I wasn't successful, to help the fella to do the right thing, but since I tried to do it, so my avasiso expressed that I tried, and I'm trying to help him, and so forth. So the lashon of the Rebbe is that he didn't lose the mitzvah of avasiso. The Rebbe by a Farbrengen, and it's printed in the Sikhs this week in Emma, one of the Sikhs, I think Lamed Vav, maybe Lamed Gimel. So the Lamed Beis, I mean. So the Rebbe says, all right. So the Rebbe said like this, I was there by the Farbrengen, that if we act that way, not only we did not miss avasiso, we fulfilled a commandment of the Alter Rebbe. We connected ourselves to the Alter Rebbe because we tried to help another person with great love. So if we want to try to correct someone, it's not to rebuke and say, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. You're not doing exactly what the Rebbe wants. You know, we have to, first of all, do it with great love. And if the other person, we see that he's doing everything right, but there's a way how to express himself. For instance, the Rebbe gave us a mandate that we should demand Mashiach. So there are different people. Some people demand it with screaming out Masai. Some people say that they have to say it in English, we want Mashiach now. And some people say that we have to say Yechi. Let's not argue in this concept how to express ourselves. The main thing is that we're all Yidden, and we have to express ourselves. So if some person, the heart shouts out, says, Ad Masai, we're doing what we're supposed to. We have to express the feeling that we need Mashiach and we want Mashiach. If the other one expresses itself in a different way, don't say you're not doing exactly what the Rebbe wants. The person is expressing himself that way. So we got all involved today in logistics, and we went off the core. Rabbi Levin, understood?
Yeah, I understand. So you're saying that we're focusing too much on the things which are not so important, and that's what's bringing discord, right?
That's
but aren't there? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in chapter 32 in Tanya, it addresses people which are making big mistakes too. I don't think it's only covering.
Okay. Oh, again, even the fellas who do big mistakes, we have to pull them with great love and try to explain to them. Now, if the person doesn't want to listen, he doesn't listen. But today, it's not a time, you know, the Rebbe one time said that they asked a question by the previous Rebbe, that the previous Rebbe was Mekarev, and the same thing the Rebbe was Mekarev. Many people, what in the end of Shulchan Aruch it says that you shouldn't be Mekarev them, you shouldn't have nothing to do with them. So they asked him, how do you do it? So he said, the Shulchan Aruch doesn't start off with that. You go through the whole Shulchan Aruch. And by the end, it mentions that. That's not the first thing what you have to do. So you see by the Rebbe, there were many people who held, there was a judge in Israel, Cohen, and he was a supreme justice in Israel, in the secular court. And the Rebbe was fighting against him in the concept of Mi Yehudi, and other things too.
Some people don't speak Hebrew. Maybe want to just only use English words. It's more helpful.
Okay, to who's a Jew, so Rabbi Khan mentions this story that I want to make it short. That he was sitting when it came Shmir at Simchas Torah, an Israeli delegation from the consulate and so forth went to be by the Rebbe by Hakofis, and they were on the Rebbe's platform. You know, you have this whole story of Netanyahu, and he was there too. And he was already a little older, and they gave him a Sefer Torah. And it was a heavier Sefer Torah. So the Rebbe, so someone said, maybe should give him a lighter Sefer Torah. And the Rebbe said that the person is now accepting him, the yoke of Torah, he's carrying a Torah, why give him a lighter one? And the Hakofis went very long. I mean, how the Hakofis generally by the Rebbe, I mean, long, you know, it was longer than a regular short Hakofis. And it had such an impact on him that even though he didn't change externally, but internally he changed. And his friend said, how do I know that? Because when I saw him, his friend looks like wasn't also from. I saw him later and he had a different attitude. And when he passed away, he gave me a letter and he said, open it only when I pass away. And he said he wants a strict Jewish halachic funeral. And for him, who was fighting against things of Yiddishkeit, to come and say that it showed us that the Rebbe touched him, not by rebuking him, but with ahava. And he learned in Europe, he was a yeshiva bacher. He knew what it was. And the guy went off. But nevertheless, to bring him closer, the Rebbe lit his neshama with that ava. And that's what you have in the 32nd chapter of Tanya. Now, so therefore, if we're all Yidden, and we see someone doing something differently, we first have to realize what brought him to do it. Where is he? Where they are? And not disrespect the other person. Even if you feel the person could know better, so we have to have a way how to speak with him with respect. That's one thing. And like I said before, wanting Mashiach, let's not get involved with the logistics. Let's all go to one nekuda that we have to demand Mashiach. Now let's go to Abshim Bayachai. Abshim Bayachai was 13 years in a cave, right? Because of the Romans. He spoke against the Roman government. Today you can speak against the government and you'll be a hero. But then if you spoke against the Roman government, the government found out it was a death sentence. So he hid for 13 years till the king died, and then he went out with his son, Rabbi Elazar. And after he went, and how great was he was learning for 13 years. There was nothing to do. There was no cell phones. There was no family to take care of. No communication with the outside world. So he sat with his son and learning by heart day and night. He was so great that before his father-in-law was Pinchas ben Yair, before he went into the cave, if he had a question, his father-in-law would give him 12 answers to every question. When he came out of the cave and he learned so much, when his father-in-law had a question, he could have given 24 answers. So you'd think such a genius and such a person in Torah would come out of the cave and come into this base medrash and say, anyone who has any questions for the last 13 years, I'll learn. No, the Gemara doesn't say that. He come to the city, and he says, since I had a miracle that I was saved, so since I have a miracle would happen to me, I was saved, is there something what the city needs? So they said, yeah, you know what? We have a place where is a cemetery, and we don't know exactly where the cemetery finishes. So if you have a Kohanim, they have to go around and around. They do extra legwork. And if we would know where the cemetery is, so we may be able to gate it off. So the Kohen would be easier when he walks in the city. He'll know that this place is not a cemetery, and a Kohen is not allowed to go into a cemetery and become impure. So he said, okay. They showed him the place, and where he went, every place where there was a grave, the earth shook. So they marked it. The earth shook, marked it, and now they knew exactly where the cemetery is, and they could have made a gate. And the Kohanim would be able to walk, and they would know where they can walk. Now the Rebbe asks, this is what Reb Shimba Yechoy is getting involved with. Such a sage, the one who put together the Zohar, and the one who was one of the greatest scholars what we had. at such a level that Rabbi Akiva said to him, "It's enough that me and your Creator know how great you are." That's what he's getting involved in, nitty-gritty things. So the Rebbe says he corrected his fellas what happened before. Rabbi Ashbi showed that Avas Yisrael doesn't mean I'm there to help the guy if it's in a danger. I'm to help a city if it's a major concern, even if it's no danger. But just to help a few individuals to make it easier for them. So it's only taking away a bother what they would have to make it easier for them how to walk. That's what I should get involved with. So Shimba Yochai corrected what his friends missed out. That Avas Yisrael is not only when I know the fellow doesn't have any food, I go and provide him. I know that something is wrong, I provide him. In something which is a minute, I can let him go. Or if there's a city where I can help the whole city in something, even if it's not major or many people, I'm there. For individual, I'm not there. Rav Shimba Yochai showed us that Avos Yisrael is to every individual, even in things which are not so desperate or really doesn't look so important. The guy does a little bit more exercise, but it is a bother that you don't know exactly where the cemetery is. And a minute part of Klal Yisrael are Kohanim, few, not a lot. But just for these few Yidden, to make them easier, he got involved. And that's what we have to take out from the lessons of the students of Rabbi Akiva and of Shimba Yochai. That Avas Yisrael is to everyone. Like, so when I got up in shul and I say, the Baal Shem Tov says that Avas Yisrael is even to a Jew who you never saw and never met, then I say, but Avas Yisrael is also to the guy who's sitting next to you in shul or your neighbor, and you know all his faults and so forth. To Avas Yisrael is for them also. And to look at the negative, look at the positive, and learn from the Rebbe. The Rebbe knew who we are, and we couldn't fool the Rebbe. There was a secretary of the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Simpson. He learned in Lubavitch, and he said one time that the Rebbe Rashab said that many people come into Yechidus, a private audience, the fifth Lubavitch Rebbe, and they think they fool me. No one can fool me. That's the biggest fool, to think they fool me, because I know who really they are. Same thing when we went to the Rebbe knew through and through who we are. Nevertheless, the Rebbe never put us down. The Rebbe always uplifted us. When you looked around and say, who am I? The Rebbe brought in everyone that power that you could utilize. Even a child could utilize their potential and to grow, and together we can bring Mashiach. And that's what we have to take out from Lag BaOmer. Just to finish off, the halacha is, if there's an argument in Gemara and Mishnah, and Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says a leniency, and if it's a time of stress, we can always rely on his opinion. And Reb Shimon Bar Yochai also said that he can take on his shoulders to save the world from judgment. It's a Gemara Sukkah. So the Rebbe said like this, he writes it, read them many times, that there's no more stressful time than when we are now in Golus, especially now. And we can rely on Rabbi Shimba Yochai. We have to ask and demand Rabbi Shimba Yochai that to take all on his shoulders, and all the negative will be washed off, and then we'll have Mashiach. Now, Rabbi Shimba Yochai, let's just finish off with a story that Mr. Bill Weiss Olav Shalom went to the Rebbe, and his son, Moshe Aaron Weiss, who's now in Sherman Oaks, didn't have children for a very long time. So he went Lag BaOmer to the Rebbe. And we know that Lag BaOmer is a time whereby the Mitchell Rebbe, the second Lubavitch Rebbe, was a time with a lot of miracles of all children. There are many stories that people used to line up by the Rebbe, by his house. Then when the Rebbe used to, before he went to the oil on Lag BaOmer, and ask for brachas for children. So he went, flew in from LA and with his son, and he asked a bracha for his son for children. So the Rebbe says, why you ask for me? Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is here. So he turns to the Rebbe, he says, I am asking from our Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. So we have to remember, we have Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, that's the Rebbe. So therefore, it's a time that you should write, everyone should write a pidyon, send it to the oil, or put it in one of the Rebbe's Svarim. And the Rebbe says that we should say chapter 33 of Tillim, because 33rd day of the Omer. Also to give a number of 18 for tzedakah tomorrow, because Lag BaOmer is the 18th of Iyar, and collectively, all together, we'll be able to rely on Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, and we'll have that plague will finish. And the main thing of the plague is not that we're going to go back to shul, we'll go to the third Beis HaMikdash on Lag BaOmer itself. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim, chaim, chaim, l'chaim.
Go.
Listen, if you're muted, you could sing along the niggin, and no one will know if you have a good voice, you have a bad voice. Nachamel, put on a niggin, please everyone sing along. Okay. There are a lot of things that started in the time of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai that will culminate right now. The Torah says the Jewish people left Egypt biyad ramah, with pride. And the translation of biyad ramah in Aramaic is bereish glei. The word bereish, the translation of the word that emphasizes how we left Egypt with pride and power, that word is an acronym for all of the tzaddikim that are connected with the coming of Mashiach. Bereish is an acronym for Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, who we are celebrating tonight. Bereish is an acronym for the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov. Bereish is also an acronym for the previous Rebbe's name and his father's name. So what happened at the time of Shimon Bar Yochai, the revelation that happened then, continues every single year on this day. Not just a day that we remember that happened a long time ago, it's something that happens tonight. The Mittler Rebbe was once talking on Purim about Esther touching the scepter of Achashverosh. Torah says that Esther touched the top, the end of the scepter. The Mittler Rebbe remarked and said, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai revealed the top of the scepter, but my father, he said, the Alter Rebbe, he gave us the entire scepter. According to Kabbalah, he explained what that means. The top of the scepter is referring to the lower light of godliness, which animates this world and the three worlds above it. And the entire scepter means the infinite light of God, which transcends all of creation. So the light that began tonight on Lag BaOmer shines in a greater way than ever did before. Tonight is like the first Lag BaOmer and even greater than the first Lag BaOmer. So we really are empowered tonight to go somewhere. In that spirit, let's go somewhere. Let's say l'chaim. We have with us tonight Rabbi Gordon from Chabad of Woodland Hills. L'chaim, Rabbi Gordon, take us away, take us somewhere. L'chaim, Rabbi Gordon.
L'chaim, Rabbi Levin, Yashikayach. How long do I have?
Well, Shachris is at 9 a.m.
Is Aryeh Siegel on right now?
I don't think he's on yet, but he'll get the regards from you later.
Okay. Rabbi Levin told me that he would like me to Farbrengen tonight, and I told him that I'm a little busy, but I'll see what I can do. But then he told me that this is also for Rabbi Aryeh Siegel's birthday, and Rabbi Aryeh Siegel is a very dear friend of mine and a very dear friend of a lot of people. So I can't say no to Rabbi Aryeh, and that's why I agreed to speak tonight. I did not hear a lot of what Rabbi Reichik said in the beginning, as I had my own class tonight on Facebook Live for Lag BaOmer and for the Parsha. So I only got to the end of what Rabbi Reichik was saying. So I hope I don't repeat myself or say things that he already said. And if I do, please forgive me because I don't know what he said. But in general, when we speak about Lag BaOmer, this amazing day that has potential to draw down so many brachas from Hashem. And the Rebbe spoke about this in so many different sichos, in so many different talks, how powerful today is. But if you realize, and I'm sure we all do, that Sfiras HaOmer, the counting of the Omer, is a very special time in itself. And I'm not going to go into the whole concept of Sfiras HaOmer, the counting of the Omer, which I'm sure we all know what it is. But the Rebbe explains in a beautiful, beautiful sicha, in a beautiful talk, that Lag BaOmer is a pause button of Sfiras HaOmer. What does this mean? That there are 32 days before Lag BaOmer, and then the rest from Lag BaOmer until Shavuos is the end of the Sfiras HaOmer. So Lag BaOmer, this pause button in between, is a very special pause button, because before the 33rd day of the Omer, we are in the middle of times of mourning for a terrible plague that wrought the Jewish people, specifically the students of Rabbi Akiva, whose day is also today. And one of the prize students of Rabbi Akiva, after the story of the plague, of course, was the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, which Rabbi Levin just mentioned, Bereish Glei. And it's such a powerful day when you think about these two incredible luminaries, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. In their great merit, we actually have a pause button of the time of mourning. Because during the time of Sfiras Omer, from the counting of the Omer when it began, or after Pesach until Lag BaOmer, 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva perished. 24,000. This is an incredible number of Talmidei Chachamim, of great sages that were taken away from us. What happened? How did this all occur? That Rabbi Akiva amassed 24,000 students? And the beautiful story, and again, I hope Rabbi Reichik did not mention this already, of Rabbi Akiva before he became Rabbi Akiva, is a phenomenal, powerful story, where himself before he became rabbi, he was a poor peddler. He didn't have 2 pennies to rub together. He was an illiterate and unknowledgeable person when it came to Judaism, when it came to Torah and learning of Torah and Torah dissemination. He didn't know what an aleph was. He didn't know what a beis was. Akiva got married. He married a woman by the name of Rachel. And Rachel and Akiva were in love. But Akiva, not knowing aleph beis, not being the most literate and knowledgeable person, not coming from a wealthy background, some people say he was a convert himself or a son of converts. Akiva's father-in-law was not happy with the shidduch. And Rachel's father, who was a very wealthy person, told Rachel, Rachel, if you go and you marry this Akiva person, I am going to cut you off from the family inheritance. I'm not going to give you a dime. You're not going to have any money because your shlemazel of a husband is not going to make $1 to his name. And Rachel said, Abba, Father, I can see the potential in my future husband. I'm going to marry him, whether you cut me off or not. And sure enough, this is what happened. Rabbi Akiva married Rachel, and Akiva took a walk one day. And as he's passing by a brook and a stream of water, he sees within that stream many different things. But one particular thing caught his eye, and that was a certain rock that had an indentation on it. It was almost like a hole in that rock. And he said to himself, and he was 40 years old at the time. He wasn't a child. He wasn't even a young adult. He was 40 years old. He didn't know what an aleph or a beis was at the age of 40 years old. And he said to himself, what is that hole? How did that indentation in that rock come about? And he saw and he looked that there was this stream of water, like a waterfall, that was hitting this rock constantly, over and over and over and over in the same place. And through this water hitting the rock, sooner or later, an indentation occurred, and the rock became penetrable, and there was almost like a hole. And Akiva, at the age of 40 years old, unknowledgeable in Torah, said to himself, if a rock that is solid can get penetrated from a little drop of water, which is so soft, hitting it over and over and over and over at the same place, making this indentation, then my rock, which is our kepele, our head, can also get an indentation and make a hole, so to speak, that water, which is ein mayim ela Torah, can go into my head and I could learn Torah. And this is what he decided. And he went home to Rachel and he told Rachel, he says, Rachel, I decided today I want to learn Torah. And he told her the whole story of this stream. And he says, I want to go to yeshiva. I want to learn about Torah. I want to be able to teach Torah. And Rachel says, sure, my husband, how long are you going to go for? And he said, I want to go for 12 years. And she says, Akiva, you have my blessing. Go for it. And Akiva left. And he learned for 12 years. And at first it was very, very difficult. But he kept having this motto in his head, this mantra in his head. If water can penetrate a rock, Torah can penetrate my head. And he really tried hard, and he was diligent, and he persevered, and he amassed many students over the first 12 years that he was in yeshiva. But he made a promise to his wife that he's only going for 12 years. So at 12 years, at the end, he comes back home. He's about to open the door to his home to see his wife after 12 years. And he hears Rachel having a commotion inside with a lot of other people, a lot of other women. And these women were berating Rachel. And he was listening to this. And these women were telling his wife, Rachel, how did you allow your husband to leave you for 12 years? Don't you miss him? Doesn't he miss you? What is going on? Why did you allow it? And Rachel turned to these women and says, you know what? I am so proud of my husband for doing what he did, for going and learning Torah. Even though it was 12 years and it wasn't easy, but I'll tell you one other thing, she said. I wouldn't even care if he stayed in yeshiva for another 12 years. And as Rabbi Akiva heard these words, without even opening the door, he went back to yeshiva for another 12 years, 24 years in total. And the Medrash, the Gemara brings this down, says, in the merit of Rabbi Akiva, learning diligently for 24 years, he amassed 24,000 students to follow him. 1,000 students per year that he, with Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice, went into yeshiva. This is an amazing story. And this is the Rabbi Akiva we're talking about here tonight. Does everybody hear me? Yes, okay.
Yes.
So the Rebbe explains this plague that took place, that took away these 24,000 Talmidei Chachamim, was incredible. Why did this happen? Because of sinas chinam, if you want to say, hatred for no reason, But the Rebbe explains it wasn't only that. Of course, they loved each other, but they couldn't understand how there could be so many different paths to serve Hashem. And one student said, I'm going to serve Hashem in my way that I understand from our Rebbe, Rabbi Akiva, and my way is correct. And the other student said, no, my way is correct. And because of this, there was animosity and hatred. So the Rebbe says, can you believe this? This person, Rabbi Akiva, his whole motto of his life was, V'ahavta l'reyacha kamocha. Love your fellow friend as you love yourself. Love your fellow Jew as you love yourself. Ahavas Yisrael. And as the pasuk says, V'ahavta l'reyacha kamocha, Rabbi Akiva Omer. Rabbi Akiva says, Ze klal gadol b'Torah. This is the main principle of the entire Torah. And the rest is commentary, as they say. This is what Rabbi Akiva lived with. This is the mantra that Rabbi Akiva lived every single day with. And I'm sure this is what he imparted on his students. But yet, his students failed. So what happened? Because of this animosity and hatred between these students, Rabbi Akiva had to start over. After the plague, Lag BaOmer, it stopped. That's why today is a joyous day, a day of joy, a day of jubilation. We can listen to music again. It's a pause button, as I started with, of the counting of the Omer and the times of mourning. Normally, during this time, we're not allowed to cut our hair. You're not allowed to listen to live music. Lag BaOmer, you press the pause button, you can listen to live music. Some people, not Chabad, cut their hair. Why? Because of Rabbi Akiva and his students after the plague when it ended. 5 prize students, primarily the Rashbi being one of them, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, whose yahrzeit is today. Chai Iyar, the 18th day of Iyar. And the Rashbi said, I know that with the day I pass away is going to be a sad day. It's like a Rebbe leaving, and everyone's going to want to be sad. But I ask you, all Jewish people who are here now in his times and for later generations, I don't want you to be sad. On the contrary, I want you to be happy. I want you to have Ahavas Yisrael. I want you to light bonfires and sing songs and dance and be merry and have joy and jubilation in your lives, especially on Lag BaOmer, the 18th day of Iyar. And I know it won't be easy. I know you're going to want to be sad, the Rashbi said, but for me, do that. And this is the pause button that we're talking about. These 2 great luminaries, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. And I just want to conclude with one more talk that the Rebbe says about this, or one more aspect of what the Rebbe says about this. 5 students of Rabbi Akiva, starting all over again, after going to yeshiva for 24 years and amassing 24,000 students, and they all perished. We don't know one of those people's names. We don't even know anything about them. We don't know the Torah they taught, the Torah they learned. What do we know? And who do we know? The Rebbe tells us 5 students. From those 5 students, every single Jew afterwards knows about those 5 names. And again, primarily the Rashbi, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, the author of Kabbalah, the author of the beginning of Hasidus, bringing to the world. And the Rebbe says, how could it be? Why don't we know about the 24,000? Why do we only know about these 5? And why do we only know what they taught and what they disseminated? What about the other Talmidei Chachamim And the Rebbe says the reason why is because these 5 prize students lived every single day with the mantra of their Rebbe, of Rabbi Akiva. And that is Ahavas Yisrael, to love our fellow Jew just like we love ourselves. And just like no 2 snowflakes are alike, no 2 people are alike. And if no 2 people are alike, no 2 paths of avodas Hashem, of service of God, are the same. But yet, if I have a certain path that I'm serving Hashem, and you have a certain path the way you serve Hashem, I have to respect you, and you have to respect me. Unconditional love is what Rabbi Akiva taught these students. The other 24,000 did not live this way, did not preach that mantra, and did not live according to the mantra of Rabbi Akiva. So the Rebbe explains that's why we have the zchus of knowing these 5, and again, primarily the Baal Hilula of today, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, because they lived and they taught and they disseminated Ahavas Yisrael, love of our fellow Jew, one Jew at a time, unconditional love. This is the way we bring Jews back to the fold and closer to Torah, closer to Hashem, closer to Yiddishkeit, and in general, closer to each other. And I just want to mention one more thing. I said I'm going to conclude, but as I started with, I'm going to end with. As today is the birthday of my dear friend of Aryeh Siegel. And from the day that I met Reb Aryeh Siegel, I was a little kid back then. I see a correlation between what I'm saying and the birthday of today of Reb Aryeh Siegel. Aryeh Siegel is a man of Ahavas Yisrael. Aryeh and Tova Hinnda, his dear wife, love every Jew unconditionally. And they have so much care, concern for one another, immeasurably, just like Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and his students afterwards, all the way until today. So my dear friend Reb Aryeh, I wish you a shnas hatzlacha, a bracha, a year of blessing and success. I wish you health, happiness, nachas from your children, together with your Eishes Chayil, and may the entire Siegel family have simchas upon simchas upon simchas. And Amir Tzah Hashem, may this be the last Farbrengen on Zoom, and may we have the ultimate Farbrengen in the base Hamikdash Hashlishi, as we go from this Yom Tif of Lag BaOmer to the ultimate Yom Tif of Bias Moshiach Tzidkenu, and will culminate the beautiful Yom Tif of Lag BaOmer in the base Hamikdash Hashlishi. May it happen right now, and let us all say Amen. L'chaim, l'chaim, happy birthday, good Yom Tif. Thank you very much.
No one can hear you guys. You can sing. No one's gonna know. We won't hear your voices. Sing Anigan. Ashreinu, 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 Matein Chalkeinu. L'chaim, l'chaim, v'racha. Oh, one of you. Ashreinu, Matein Chalkeinu. Okay. So, Ashrei Matein Chalkeinu, Ma'anoyin Geraleinu Yafush Oseinu. Every morning we start off our day that way. We say to God, how fortunate we are, how good is our portion, how pleasant is our lot, how beautiful is our inheritance. That's how we start our day every day. We don't even realize how lucky we are. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai begins the Zohar, and he says, with this book, you'll taste this book, and with this book, we will go out of the exile with mercy. The Tzemach Tzedek would travel to Minsk, to Shklov, to Vilna, to various areas in Russia where people were very unfamiliar with the deeper parts of the Torah. And one instance, he was visiting a large group of people, and he wanted to share with them something, and he became very serious. And he said to this large gathering, heads of the yeshiva, rabbis, I want to tell you something from the depth of my heart, the deepest part of my neshama. As the Tzemach Tzedek said, he was very serious. He said to them like this: you have to understand what's going on. That's what he said to them. According verbatim, this is the idea he said to them. When God created the world, so the Samach Mem, the forces of evil, came to this world itself. There are various angels which do the bidding of evil, of klippa, of not good things. Then there is the very source, the essence of evil. When God created the world, the very first action of the Samach Mem was to convince Adam and Eve not to eat from the tree of knowledge. That's why this angel came to the world, to convince them to eat from the tree of knowledge. That's why this happened. That's what the first thing he did. Before the coming of Mashiach, God gives us the ability to break down the separation between this world and the worlds above it, to reveal godliness in this world. And God gives us a taste of how things will be in the future, the coming of Mashiach. God gives us the Zohar, and God gives us not just the Zohar, the Samach Mem, the Klippa isn't bothered so much by the Zohar, it's bothered more by the way the Zohar is explained in the Tanya, the way you can understand it, as the Zohar says that the Zohar should be Yisparnas Shumine. You should be nourished by it, and invigorated by it, and vivified by it. So the Samach Mem, just like in the beginning of creation, it made an effort so that Adam and Eve should taste the tree of knowledge. So too, the last thing that it does, the first thing that it did was trying to stop us to convince us to eat from the wrong tree, the tree of knowledge. So too, at the end of the exile, it puts all of its efforts to prevent the Jew from tasting from the tree of life. Because it's with the tree of life that we go out of the exile. Just like before Shabbat, it's customary to taste from the foods of Shabbat. So too, before the coming of Mashiach, God gives us, and the klippa, the evil forces of evil, the angels of evil, they know that there's something really incredible in the teachings of Tanya and the Zohar, and therefore they put all their efforts to stop us from studying those teachings. So Tzedek was speaking and speaking, just like the Alter Rebbe, he said. The Alter Rebbe would travel around, his grandfather, the Alter Rebbe would travel around and he would tell people, he would sing a song. Whenever he spoke, he sang a song. But he told, Tamuru kitai vavaye, bazuch v'menzen, that the Eibishter is good. Taste and see that God is good. Alter Rebbe begged people, taste and see that God is good. He meant, taste the teachings of the Tanya, taste the teachings of the inner dimension of Torah, taste it, and you'll see that it's good. And that's why, since it's so good and so delicious and so inspiring, That's why Kalippa, that's why there's such the Yitzhahara, the evil inclination put such effort to prevent us from studying those teachings, because by studying these teachings specifically, it gives us the energy to overcome the obstacles, to get to the finish line, to come to Mashiach. So Machzedek stopped and he cried and he told all of those gathered, he said to them, how do you begin? What do you start off with? You start off with by studying the Tanya and studying the Tanya in a personal way. My friends, tonight's the night of הרבה, night of Shemba. Let's make a commitment tonight. Taste from the tree of life that Shemba Yochai planted tonight in הרבה. Let's get a taste of it now. And this will, in that merit, we're going to have the delicious Sharaber and Lagos and Re'ayim Shumer. We have with us tonight an incredible chassid who makes, when our shul, Baruch Hashem, was opened, Arla would walk in, just make everybody smile. Everybody has felt good. As soon as he walks in, his smile lights up the whole room without him doing anything. And he did stuff too. He jumped around and he hugged people, and not always in parts of davening, which I liked so much, but he made everybody smile, and God willing, should make a smile in the Beis Hamikdash. Please, everyone, give your attention to Rabbi.
Wow. Wow. So first of all, I want to say hi to Ira. So beautiful to see your punim, your face. Miss you so much. And there's some other people here that I recognize, like Rabbi Maisha. Oh, you're looking beautiful. Rosie, Rabbi Siegel, Nebarye, good to see you. Rabbi Begun, and Mayan, I see you over there. And Beryl, thank you for all your service. L'chaim to everybody. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Good to see you also.
I also want to say a big thank you for whoever sponsored the Farbrengen tonight. Something else tonight. It's really good,
For me, it was Western kosher.
Before we continue, let's give a bracha to Rabbi Arya, celebrating his 76th birthday tonight.
76? You don't look a day over 24.
L'chaim, Rabbi Arya, shavashnas hatzlacha v'gashmis v'ruchnius, tremendous nachas from your wife and she from you, from all your kinderlach and einiklach and einiklach. Gesundheit und Freiligkeit will be as Mashiach. L'chaim bracha.
Amen.
L'chaim. All good things. You know, I can't hold myself back. I remember I came to Alatera in Masifta, so I was I don't know, 15, and I was coming from Australia, and all my friends, my new friends, were going to L'chaim. They're going to see someone who just got engaged and go celebrate with him. There was someone from camp, and it was like so exciting. And what am I going to go home? So it was my first time going to L'chaim, to an engagement party. So I came, and I see everybody walks over to the chassan, and it says, they say, mazel tov and like something, and like, so, I'm the next guy in line, and I come over, and the guy gives me a l'chaim, and I say, shnas hatzlacha. So, yeah, shnas hatzlacha. L'chaim. Okay, so.
L'chaim.
L'chaim. Okay, so let me drink this. First of all, today's chitas, chumash, and today's hayom, two very, very powerful tools for those of us out in the real world of quarantine. In today's chumash, Hashem tells the Yidden, he says, Kindalach, my dear children. He says, don't worry about where's my parnasa going to come from. I'm telling you that the 7th year, you shouldn't work. And you're worried how you're going to pay your bills, how you're going to eat. So Hashem says, don't worry. I'll make it work for you. We'll figure it out. So to me, it was very encouraging and very powerful because, I mean, I don't know about any of you, but some of us have bills to pay. And some of us are, you know, we're usually doing stuff that help us pay the bills. And all of a sudden comes this thing, which we thought would stick around for a few days. And now we're on week 8 or week 9 or week 10, who's counting? So some of us could think, hey, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna pay these bills? Comes Hashem in today's chitas and tells us, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. That was very powerful to me. So l'chaim, that we should not go back to normal. We should go back to much, 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 much better with the coming of Mashiach right now. L'chaim. The second thing which I found so powerful today was the Yamim for today. The Yamim for today is a quote of the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov says that it says in the pasuk, Atem tiyuli eretz chayfetz, that Hashem tells the Yidden, and I quote, Hashem tells the Yidden that for you shall be a land of desire, Hashem says. So the Baal Shem Tov explains. Zohar says the greatest scientists, could you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just on a different screen, so I want to make sure that I didn't lose you. Just as the greatest scientists will never discover the limits of the enormous natural resources which the Almighty has sunk into the land, neither will anyone ever find the limits of the great treasures that lie in a Jew, which is Hashem's Eretz Chayfetz. And the Baal Shem Tov concluded, he says, I want to make Israel, the Jewish people, yield the kind of produce which Hashem's Eretz Chayfetz is capable of yielding. Now, why is that powerful? Well, it's powerful for a number of reasons. Number one, it's powerful because it's so important to always remember that every single Yid is a gold mine. It's a mine, every Yid is a mine of gold and of precious gems, like the earth, with a limitless amount of resources and incredible qualities and incredible kaiches. And we have to remember that each and every one of us ourselves, we have tremendous power. And when we look around, we have to see the tremendous power in each individual Yid that we come in contact with. We have to remember that these Yidden are not regular individuals. They're tremendously more capable and tremendously more potent than regular. They're tremendously potent, that's it. Who cares who more than? So l'chaim to that. And l'chaim to what the Hayamim finishes, that the Baal Shem Tov says, I want to help the Yid give the kind of fruit that the Eibishter's fields can yield. Now, how does the Baal Shem Tov do that? The Baal Shem Tov taught us Chassidus. Chassidus started with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He revealed the Zohar to us, and that's the beginning of Chassidus. Chassidus, I mean, on one level, maybe we could say that, of course, we know the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus is Yutas Kislev, but maybe we could say on a subtle level, maybe the Rosh Hashanah for Chassidus, even before Yutas Kislev, is today, the day of the Rashbi.
You know, Arla, tonight I wrote a letter to the Rabbi asking for a bracha for the Farbrengen, and opening up Rebbe's letters, the whole bracha from Farbrengen to Kislev. I was thinking it's very connected. Exactly.
Baruch Shekivanti. Wow. I was just having a private, I know you disabled the chat, but I was having a private chat with Ira, and he was telling me that he just got a beautiful bracha from the Rebbe, and he felt like the letter was written to him. I said, welcome to the club. Eretz Chayfetz, that's what it is.
He tells you the good news. He only calls me if he forgets Yahweh or something.
That's the good news. You see, if we forget Yahweh, we'll catch up next Rosh Chodesh. Ira calls you. Ira! Unmute yourself.
Ira!
What's going on, guys? How are you?
How you doing?
Chaim.
Great to see you guys. L'chaim.
Ira, put something in there, man.
How can you tell? How can you tell over camera?
L'chaim, I see those bottles behind you, Ira.
L'chaim, Yidden, L'chaim.
Hi, guys. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Okay, so so it all started on with Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. And that means everything. So think about what Chassidus is to us. Dear B'tachtoinim, Mashiach, Ahavas Yisrael, love your fellow Jew, Hashgacha Pratis, all this, everything that we live, everything that we breathe on a daily basis started today. So Yidden, be happy, say l'chaim, and let's get into the spirit of this special day. L'chaim.
Up Kazakh.
Is that Pavarotti? We'll go with Pavarotti. That was great. Hey, I see Rami Duvek was over here, and he needs to say Yechi. Where's Rami Duvek? Rami, Yaakov. He left. All right. Just missed him. Rabbi Begun. Yeah, L'chaim Rabbi Begun.
Unmute yourself.
Chaim.
Chaim.
You said L'chaim. Okay, weiter.
No, L'chaim. A good yontev in
Chaim. Good yontev.
Lag is indeed a yontev, and one way is greater than any other day of the year. Where do we see that from? There's a Maisa with a student of the Arizal that used to say every day the prayer of Tisha B'Av Nachem. Why? Because as it says, if the Beis Hamikdash was not built in your days, I mentioned that in the Sikh also, is as if it was destroyed in your own days. So the Rebbe said also, imagine standing and watching the Beis Hamikdash being burned in fire. So this, the Rebbe said, even the heart of stone would melt. And that's when the Rebbe said every Jew has to cry out Moshe. So regarding the student of the Arizal, he used to say Nachem every single day. Came the day of Lag BaOmer, we said that he would really, what happened, he had a punishment that came upon him. And what was the explanation why Dafka this day he received the punishment? The reason is because on the day of Rashbi, the day of Lag BaOmer, this day is the opposite, totally the opposite of the year of Churban. It says by Rashbi there was never a Churban, there was never a destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Therefore, on such a day, you can't even have any sign whatsoever of the opposite of the building of Beis Hamikdash, anything that had to do with the Churban of Beis Hamikdash. And by this person, which meant well, and it did it all year round, even though he did on the great Yontivs and Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, and all Simchas Torah and Purim, all the great days, he wasn't punished for that. But on the day of Lag BaOmer, say Nachem, for that he was punished. Here we see that the Simcha of Lag BaOmer is greater, as much as Purim is the happiest day of the year, Simchas Torah, but there's something special on Lag BaOmer that is greater than all of them. So therefore, we are now standing this incredible 24 hours of Lag BaOmer. And we have to understand the incredible Eitzrus that we are in. We are sitting in a treasure day, a day that we could draw down incredible blessings and everything, Gashmis, Ruchnis, and everything that we need. Especially the blessing of the Gula, the blessings that we need more than ever at these days. But Rashbi, what was in for Rashbi? Rashbi was known to be, it says there's a story also that Rabbi Akiva once brought the Talmidim, and he hadn't sit down, so he asked Rabbi Meir to sit first, and Rashbi second. It says, Nichmur Panav Shel Rashbi, his face got dark. He was bothered by that. Rabbi Akiva called him over, he says, don't worry, it's dialed, it's enough that myself and your creator know who you are. And as it says that his own friends, his own chaverim did not understand and did not know the greatness of Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. Only Rabbi Akiva and God himself. So we see that, as it says also in the Shvachim, that's brought down in Zohar of Rashbi, that is compared to Shabbos and Man Pnei Odin Lavai do Rashbi, comparing, it says that you go to Beis Hamikdash to see the face of God. And what does it say about it in Zohar? That is referring to Rashbi. Incredible words. Comparing Rashbi to the Creator himself because of his incredible beetle, that he was one with the Eibishter. The expression that it says about Rashbi is an incredible unity with Hashem that is inseparable. You look at Rashbi, you see everything about the Creator. So therefore, Rashbi, in such a high level, the greatness of the Rashbi is that sometimes a tzaddik could be in a very high level and he remains there. The Mailer Rashbi is that he was able to bring down his Torah down to the the lowest level. It says in his days, even children study Pnimus HaTorah. Similar to what will be when Mashiach will come, even the Yemei Mashiach that we are now, that we see Pasha kids, little kids, they're learning Chassidus, everyone in the way that is explained to them in all different ways. But everyone able to zeicha to taste from the tree from Chassidus. So therefore, Rashbi, the Mother Rashbi, that is from the highest level that he was able to bring it down to the lowest level. There's a famous story of a student of Rashbi that he left town and he came back with an incredible amount of wealth. And when he came back, the students kind of felt like, what about us? So Rashbi brought him to a valley near Miron and stood there in this deep valley. And he looked into it, and all the students standing there and watching. And it says, "Bika bigger smali dinner." It says, "Valley, valley, fill up with golden coins." And suddenly the entire valley filled up with an incredible amount of wealth. The students stood there and saw an incredible amount of wealth in front of their eyes. That valley was filled with golden coins. So Rashbi said, if you want, you can go ahead and take, but I'm just letting you know that what you take from there will be taken away from the future, from you, from Lasud Lovely, from your future reward. And of course, not one single student dare touch that. And what happened was that all that was taken away. So one of the things that Rabbi brings also the question, it brings about the incredible miracle that he made. It says that Rabbi Madgish something interesting. The greatest miracle was not the fact that he brought golden coins into the valley. The greater miracle was that he took it away, because it was opposite of the holy and Rashbi. The holy and Rashbi is to bring down Ashpa to the lowest of all. So the miracle was that he changed his nature and he took that away. So we see from this story also that Rashbi was able to dafka the Masbi, what's in it from a valley. Valley is dafka from the lowest, and not just in the plain land, but in the deeper and the lower level. That he's able to bring golden coins to bring the highest level of Ashpa dafka to the lowest of all. So what do we take from such a day? First of all, Chaim for the birthday boy, for Ari Siegel, Shnas Bracha Batzlocha, Bakam Mekakil. You together, your wife and entire family should have an incredible Shnas Batzlocha Bracha. And only on Begashim, the Ruch Gam Yachad, Beteva Nir Vanigle, Bonne Chayrichem, Zenevicha, Mekulam Revicha, Beteva Nir Vanigle, Chaim. What we must take from such a day is that each one of us has this incredible oitzer, this incredible din rezov. We have chassidus, we have pnimis atayra, we have this incredible bracha that Rashbi brought it to us. Incredible bracha that Rashbi's of all the generations of Chabad, all the way from the Baal Shem Tov to the Mizitcha Magid, to the Alter Rebbe, the Mittler Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe Shmal Seiden, the Rashab, and the Fidik Rebbe, until our Rebbe, the Nasi Adoir, which brings us, the Rashbi of Adoir brings us incredible din zov to the Bika Shein Lamata Amen. And that's the true Yafutzu Manasech Chutza. This is what each one of us is given, without any exception. There's absolutely not a single Jew who could say, I am not responsible for this task is not for me. Every single one of us, included, the Rebbe gives each one of us the task to bring the din resolve to the bika, to find every space where in the world where is a bika, and there to fill in with chassidus. To first of all, to start with ourselves, that we should make sure that not a day should go by, especially people are not as busy as the days, I don't know what they call normal, not normal, but the days before this pandemic that people thought they were too busy, they don't not enough time for chassidus. There's no excuse now. And if you don't have enough time to go to a shiur, the day the shiur comes to you, as far as your phone or your laptop or your computer, that's where chassidus is. And today, more than ever, not only you have a video from years ago, but you can have a live connection with mashpia, with your chaverim, with your friends. So chassidus is as close as ever. And therefore, we have to see this day of Lag BaOmer, the day of an incredible ashpa of Pnimis HaTorah that is given to us, that each one of us is not to walk away the same we came to this Farbrengen, because then we simply wasted our time. If we left the same way, normally we have a table full of Farbeisen. I don't know what everyone has in front of them, but sometimes after Farbrengen, we leave with another pound or another kilo, we had some good Farbeisen, and that's how we definitely walk away different than we came. But we have to walk away with another pound of chassidus. We have to walk away weighing more spiritually. That we actually took upon ourselves from now on, I will not miss a day of the year, no matter when it is, that I will not study chassidus. And when you study chassidus, you realize that really penetrates into yourself and changes your life. And you're able to reach out to others and change their lives. We have an incredible tool. Anybody feels I don't have enough strength to affect another Jew, you haven't opened your eyes and see the tool in front of you. So this is the achlata for everyone today that I would suggest to myself first, and then to everyone, is that we should take upon ourselves to strengthen ourselves, to study more in kamos and echos and quantity and quality of chassidus, the incredible amount of chassidus that Rebbe pours us. We should take whether the Rebbe's sichos, the Rebbe's Farbrengen, the Rebbe's maimorim, everything that we have from the Rebbe is enough to give us enough strength to reach out, to fill out every single bika out there, every single valley out there, to bring the din resolve, to fill in and to be able to see it, that this din resolve will be something that we'll be able to, it will not be the din resolve, just gashmis, but will be the ruchnis too, and we'll be able to see incredible wealth that is in front of us and gain from it. And the Eibush should give each one of us gesund, we should be able to go through these days and be able to utilize these days, incredible opportunities that we have now more than ever. We never had opportunities in the past as we had in these days. So when these days will pass, we'll look back and say, look what I could have done this day. So let's make sure that we take advantage and opportunity that we have in these days to immerse ourselves in learning more and affecting other people and bringing the last spots in the world that is still not filled with chassidus, that we should see to it everywhere around us, everyone that we can reach out to teach them chassidus, even for a few moments a day. You could call someone and give them a word chassidus that you learn. If you know an aleph, you teach an aleph. If you know a base, you teach a base. Everyone is capable. So l'chaim may zecher to this galus of the Rebbe, take of me ad mamish, take us out of galus. We galinu l'chein k'miz l'artzeinu together with Rabbi. We celebrate this incredible day, the Hilul of Rabbi, in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, now l'chaim.
Chaim.
Rabbi Koch, you give us azach koch to fulfill our shlichus. You make honor to your name.
Hinei matoi uma
No yim shebesach yam.
Hinei matoi sheves achim gam yochad. Hinei matoi. Look, Chaim Shalom is here. Rami, where's the Chaim Rami? Ayako Rami. Who's the Igmal to Yid Rami? Look at Chaim. Chaim Roch. Hey, we're good. So I want to point out, you mentioned about Ruchnius and about the Rebbe's golden coins reaching the deepest valleys, the Rebbe's chassidus reaching the lowest places to bring Mashiach, and how that's happening. I want to also point out something which is more relevant to the Nefesh HaBahamis, to the animal soul. The Rebbe said, believe it or not, that the students of Hashem Yochai took the golden coins. They took the golden coins. It sounds like from the story they didn't take the golden coins, but the Rebbe said they did take the golden coins. How could that be? He told them, if you take it, take from the future. What does this mean? So the answer is like this. Who was Rashbi? What's Rashbi about? Rashbi said, Rashbi was about connection with Hashem. That's what he was about. It wasn't just about learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, but being connected to it. He said on the day of his passing, like B Omer, all the days I was connected to this world, I was connected to Hashem. And now the Rashbi said, now my neshama is one with him. Now my neshama is inflamed with him. Now my neshama cleaves to him. So the way he studied Torah was that he felt the giver of the Torah. The way he studied Torah was that there was every fiber of his being was one with God when he learned Torah. his learning Torah was greater than the greatest Shemona Esrei that we can imagine. Rabbi Yisrael Rizhiner, the great tzaddik, Rabbi Yisrael Rizhiner said about himself, he's a secret tzaddik. So one of his students said, Rebbe, I actually know that you're a tzaddik. It's not a secret. I'm sorry, the cat is out of the bag. So Rizhiner said, Ochen vei, it would be terrible if I would be who you think I am. Our imagination can't tell us who Rabbi Shimon is. We don't know who he is. But still is something that we can get from him. One thing we're supposed to get from him is to be connected to our Torah study. Although we can't study Torah all day like he did, but while we study Torah in the set time that each of us needs to have to study Torah, that set time has to be that it's like Shabbos. You don't answer the phone. Even if you're learning from your phone, still don't answer the phone. Is anyone calling you or texting you or WhatsApping you or emailing you? The Rebbe says when you study Torah, it has to be like Shabbos. But a Jew may say to Hashem, I can't do that. I'm responsible for my business. Since I'm responsible, I have to be open all the time to catch whatever gets in my way. So that it doesn't matter how much time it is, I have to be open. I can't be completely directed to Torah even for a moment because I'm responsible. So said Rosh Hashanah to his students, and not just his students at that time, but and to any one of us who wants to be his student, or even wants to be a student for at least a part of the day, and who wants for a moment of the day just to study Torah like he did, or at least a tiny bit like he did, and not everything else not important, and everything else doesn't matter. We study Torah, just feel that God's talking to you, which he is. As it says in Tanya, we say the words of Torah, God talks with you, God talks to you, and Mount Sinai is happening. So if you decide for a section of the day, whatever section that is, you set that aside. The Rebbe says that when you set it aside and your family knows about it, your family knows what time you study Torah, they respect it, and they honor it. You know, this is the time you study Torah. It's important to you, and they'll respect it. And so you may say, but I can't do it. I'm responsible. So the Rebbe says, the Rebbe Shimon Yochai told his students, and he told each of us, that if you're my student, whatever you take will be from the world to come, which means there is a natural order of things where the kind of coins you could earn are limited according to natural limited order. And then there is a supernatural kind of success, which is beyond what the natural order, you could be far more successful in a miraculous way. If you said Rashbi to anyone who wants to be a student, if you be my student, you'll dedicate yourself to Torah study. For part of the day, Rashbi said, that I will bless you, that your coins that you will take will be the coins of God, the higher kind of coin. It won't be just the regular coins in a natural order. He was telling them you'll also take from something which is supernatural beyond the natural order. So it's not only connected to Bias Mashiach, which we need Mashiach to come right now, but it's also a bracha that comes to us now within the time of Golus as well. You call him Neitel. Anyone who takes, Rashbi said, you also bring a bracha to yourself as well. Also want to add one more second before I go back to Rabbi Gun. The Rebbe said these words. Even if today was a day that you were over Istirabonon, today was a day you transgressed a law of the Chachamim. Today was a day you transgressed and you didn't do a mitzvah b'daraisa, you didn't do a biblical commandment, you went against the Torah. Still on this day, you have to learn Chassidus. That's the words the Rebbe said. No matter what happened today, every day can't go by. Even though you made a big mistake today, you may say, today's not the day. Today's not the day. Today's the day. Every day, today, from Lagbem has to come out that every day we taste from the teachings of Chassidus. Doesn't matter what we tasted before. It doesn't matter what we soiled our mouth with before. But every single day, a year has to taste from the tree of life. Taste from the tree of life, which Hashem will reveal. Aria, are you freed? Are you still alive? Are you freed? It's not Avraham freed. Chayim. I know you're not done yet. You have a lot to share with us. Unmute yourself.
You're doing well. Go ahead.
Good. There you go.
Okay.
Is that absolute, Aryeh? Chayim. One thing Zoom is not good at is joining the gunim to each other, but it's good to see each other. The gunim Zoom hasn't figured out how to make a farbrengen with the gunim yet. So, Hi,
isn't that this farbrengen is connect to Aryeh? Let's see if I get to see Aryeh here. Oh, here you are. L'chaim, Aryeh. So you're 37, L'chaim. It's pretty good. I didn't know I was older than you. L'chaim, L'chaim.
L'chaim, L'chaim.
Not only it's 120, but bis Mashiach and weiter, so there's no interruption. We go straight to Chaim Nitzchim.
Amen, amen.
Ari, what's your chata for your birthday?
Okay.
I is gematria. I'll start coming back to Chassidus again.
Okay, so basically, I have this new linear translation of the Siddur, and I'm working every day to basically try to understand what I'm saying for the first time in 40 years. So I'm working it slowly. So we'll see how far I get. Anyway, that's the haklata so far.
Beautiful.
Better than my usual ones.
I
want to say something because it's Hashaka Pratis. My wife, for my birthday, commissioned one of our Farbrengen participants, Mrs. Shagalov, to make a beautiful, I don't know if you can see this.
We can see it.
In her handwriting of all the sayings of Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg on my birthday, on Lag BaOmer. And I'll read you a few of them because they're beautiful and we can all get something from them. So one of them is the spiritual power of Hod, which Lag BaOmer is Hod. The Mida is like Hod Shabbat. So it's the spiritual power of Hod is identified in Kabbalah and Chassidus with pure, simple acknowledgement, this pure, simple faith in the absolute unity of Hashem. And it says that.
Very good you're saying it. I was wondering why you keep on saying the same thing.
Can't hear you. What? Can you hear me?
Keep on going. We hear you. Keep on going.
Okay. It says when we surrender our will to God's will, then God's will can become our will. When we lose everything, we win everything. And I'll do one more. Hod is splendor like the crown of a king. When a person has true humility and modesty to create space for another, he merits the crown of splendor. And there's actually one more that's really nice. I acknowledge your presence in my life by giving you space to act freely. This is expressed in a balanced way. It takes great strength to be fully present in the space that you create for the one you love. It's very profound saying about marriage and relationships. And it's something for me to work on for the next 30 years or 40 or something like that. So l'chaim, everybody, I give you all a bracha that we should all come through this whatever we're going through with health for ourselves, for our family, for our loved ones, for everyone we care about, the entire Jewish people. This should end quickly with Mashiach, and we should all stay safe. We should all do what's correct. We should know we're living in very stressful times and just basically be able to do whatever we can to ease the tension in our families and be examples of Chassidus for everybody, our families, ourselves, and for all those around us. So Chaim, we should all should get through this all with safety.
By the way, Aryeh, I just want to tell you that we miss you in the morning. It's been a while since you joined us in the morning for Chassidus. And I want to consider starting to come again, maybe not tomorrow, maybe the day after, but we miss you. We miss you. Your presence inspires us. Chaim, Chaim, Rabbi, where are you going to go? You escaped? Where are you going to go?
Chaim. Actually, Arya, your birthday is always 5 days after the Yartzeit of the Rebbe's brother, which the Rebbe once explained. His name Yudah Yisrael Arya Leib. And Arya obviously is a lion. So lion represents strength. As we know, Gibor Ka'ari, one of the things we say, the first beginning of Shulchan Aruch, brings down from Pirkei Avos this week's, it says Yudah ben Tamer, Gibor Ka'arya should be as strong as a lion. So when you say Arya, the first thing comes to your mind is strength. Then you said that this day represents Hoid Shebehoid, splendor, but also Hoid is Lashon Hoidoyo, which means being thankful to Hashem. And when you say Moidim Anachnu Loch, or Moide Ani, what you're saying basically is that, like it says, Moide Chacham Meir, that you agree with, and you give up your opinion to agree with somebody else's opinion. As you said before, you give up your space for somebody else. It's interesting. There's once someone came to the Rebbe and Chaim Mushka and asked her, "Could you please ask the Rebbe which is his favorite part of davening?" It felt comfortable enough to turn to ask the Rebbe and Chaim Mushka. So Rebbe Chaim Mushka said, "I'll do it." So next time, I was saying, it was a kid that came to the Rebbe's house and asked the Rebbe, "No, did you ask the Rebbe?" She says, "Yes, I did." And what was the Rebbe's answer? So the Rebbe said that Moide Ani is his favorite part of davening. It's interesting. The union from Moide Ani, which is the union from Hoid, is exactly the union from Bittul, that you actually annul yourself and make room for someone else. And this is definitely an incredible lesson how we could come together. We have the union from Arya, which is strength. When you talk about strength, the first thing comes to your mind is who you are and your strength, and it's all about you. And Hoid is opposite. Hoid is about Bittul, is about annulling yourself. But if you look from the Mishnah, we find that the union from Gvur is not really about yourself. The opposite is conquering and annulling your yeshus, your ego. That is the ultimate Gvura, that's ultimate strength. And this is really what Lag BaOmer teaches us, that the ultimate strength is when we annul ourselves, we make room for the Eibishter, for God. We make room for another Eid. That's the ultimate strength. Opposite to what the world would say. The strongest person is the one that can knock down anybody else. Nobody can knock him down. He's the strongest. He could knock anyone else. No one could put him down. That's the world's view. The Torah view of a strength, of real strength, is when you give up your own identity, your own ego, and you make room for somebody else. And this is Avos Yisrael. This is in from Moedim. This is from Hidoyo. This is from Hoid. Especially on the day of Hoid Shebehoid. And that's something also that has to be emphasized, as was mentioned before. Rabbi was a Talmud from Rabbi Akiva, as Rabbi Gordon mentioned earlier. Rabbi Akiva takes the pasuk v'after re'acha kamecha, and it says Zeh klal God about Torah. This is an incredible, great principle in Torah. Ma'aseh with Hillel, when the convert person wanted to convert and came over to Shammai, and they asked him, "Can I convert? Could you convert me in 1 foot? Could you teach me the whole Torah in 1 foot?" Shammai sent him out. How could you ask such a thing? There's so much to learn. You want to learn in a split second and take it all in one moment. So he didn't. There's no way. He sent him out. He came to Hillel, and Hillel said that one sentence. He said to him, "What is hateful to you, don't do to others." This is the entire Torah. The rest is all the interpretation. Everything in Torah goes around this nakuda, this point of don't do to others when you don't like to be done. What's hateful to you, don't do to others. Which means the concept of Ahavas Yisrael, the concept of putting down your ego for somebody else, your existence for somebody else, making room for someone else. That's not just another mitzvah in the Torah, but this is Kol HaTorah Kula. And being the Rabbi Akiva, this day is the day of Rabbi Akiva, the day of a Talmud, the main Talmud, Rabbi Akiva Rashbi. So we have to look into ourselves and see that most of the problem, sometimes, especially when people are in quarantine, sometimes they feel too much their mitzias. They have also a lot of time to think of themselves. It could be in a positive way, it could be in a negative way. In the positive way, you have time to work on yourself. You have time to find out really who you are. You have time to find out who your close, your family, your loved ones, know more about each other, work with each other, give the best to each other. There's a great positive. And sometimes people concentrate on themselves too much. And they concentrate too much on themselves, everything around them hurts them, everything bothers them, everything is a problem. And sometimes it could be a problem of Heipach Ahavas Yisrael. The story of the guy that he complained that wherever he went in the shul, and people stepped all over him. Every time he steps into shul, everyone is out there to get him. So which Rebbe was that? Rabbi Levin, Rabbi Tzemach Tzedek was.
That said what?
That said, what do you expect when you spread yourself all over the shul?
Tzemach
Tzedek. So that's the lesson. It says here you're spreading yourself, your ego everywhere. You expect that nobody's to step on you. Vumigate, wherever we go, you're stepping on you. So sometimes in the days of quarantine, a person can sometimes feel himself also too much of his existence, concentrate too much of himself, and taking the days of quarantine in a negative way. Instead of working and finding out more about yourself and what you can work on, sometimes you could work the other way, that you spread yourself too much, and anyone that moves is out to get you. So therefore, the times that we are now is to concentrate on Hoshe B'Hoid, to find the Inyan from Moedim, the Inyan from Eidoya, the Inyan from Beetle, that we could make room for another one and find the good in everyone and bring out the good of everyone. As it says by Rashbi, that how the Chaverim, the Talmidim, they were Meshabeach the Rashbi. It says what's the name from Shevach, what's the name of praising? When you praise someone, you bring out that quality in the person. When you tell someone you're incredible smart, you're so talented, you bring out those hidden powers that the person has to an open and revealed way. Because the person has that, it might never feel because it never brought it out. When a person Mishabeach, when you praise, you actually bring out that concept. It says about davening also, the Chayda, who are we to praise Hashem? Hashem doesn't need our praises. Hashem is greater without our praises. But the concept of praise is a kavayachol, that we're megala that quality, that concept in the Lakus into the world to ourselves. So it's more for ourselves that we bring that out to ourselves, that awareness. You bring that into this world, into this physical world that we're in. We say Hagode, Lagibur, Vaneira, everything that we mishabeh. Same thing is to an average person. When a person turns to another and sees the good in him and mishabeh him, you bring out those powers. And that's also a lesson that each one should take from Lag BaOmer, the day of Rabbi Akiva, the day of Rashbi, that we should see to utilize this time that we're so close to our loved ones and bring out the best of each one of them. Because chinuch starts with ourselves, chinuch starts with each one of our loved ones near us, and then from there we move out forward to the outside. But first we have to be mesaken as atzmachot tchilo. You have to kshoit atzmachot tchilo. You have to start working on yourself first, and by each one of us having the din of Ahavas Yisrael, knowing that Zakol HaTorah Kulo, this is everything. Everything else is an interpretation around it. So we take the lesson of Rashbi of Asher that after Kamecha, as Rabbi Akiva says, that Klal Gol Bater, and each one of us will have the incredible Hidoya, incredible beetle to each other and make room for another and always bring a person closer, another person closer. And Ahavas Yisrael is not about loving somebody in Tasmania, somebody in New Zealand. You got to start also with the one close to you. Sometimes it's harder to love someone close to you than somebody that you don't know. So each one of us utilize this time, because everything is for a reason. Hashem wants us to be in such a situation. We're not missing out on something else, because that's the avodah. When the person thinks that you're missing out in Kaddish, you're missing out in Kedusha, missing out in Kriyas HaTorah, when we are trying to be more religious than God, God says this is what you got to do. God would have commanded us to chop wood. Imagine tomorrow morning, the Eibusha tells us, okay, you don't have to put on tefillin. You have to go out, take a piece of 2x4 and cut into pieces. That's my yiratzon. That's what I want you to do tomorrow. That's your voice. So no, but I'm too religious. I cannot miss out on tefillin. The Eibusha says tomorrow, instead of tefillin, you have to chop wood. If that would have been the commandment, then that's what our avodah is. And we can't be more religious than God. When God says your avodah now is to concentrate on yourself, and the bnei bayis, and your children, and your family, and your loved ones, and do your davening there, make your home a place of Torah, tefillin, tzedakah, and that's the avodah. You're not missing out. It's not that you have to turn to the Eibusha. By the way, I'm just letting you know that I'm missing out. The Eibusha is the one that making you. He's the one that put you in that situation. We don't have to turn and apologize to the Eibusha that we're not saying Kedusha Baruch. He's the one that put us in the situation. We have to realize that is the ratzon of the Eibusha. If the Rabbanim say that that's what we have to do, that's the will of Hashem. That's what we have to do b'simcha. We have to know that we're not missing out. Some people are depressed. Oh, I'm missing out on this, missing out on that. This is what we're doing with joy, exactly what the Eibusha wants. The moment the Torah will tell us that it's okay to go back to the shul, with joy we'll do that. We're moving like soldiers. But now that we're doing what we're doing, let's do with simcha, let's do the right way, let's do something that we haven't done before. We didn't have this opportunity, and all the advantage that we have today, we have to see the positive of it, because there's plenty of positive. And when we see the positive of the moments that we are now, as difficult as it is, and if we see the negative things, but let's concentrate on the positive, that's what the Eibusha wants us to take the best, to utilize this moments of challenge, to change challenge to opportunities, to change tzara to tzoyhar, to change nega to oineg. All these letters are interchanged. The letters are all connected. It's interesting that the nega that we are now facing calls corona, which is the Indian from Keser, and the same thing is nega, which is what people call this plague, is a nega. You turn around the letters and say this is oineg. Oineg is also Keser. Oineg is also crown. So the Eibusha wants us to utilize the equal powers of Kedusha to fight the powers of opposite powers. How do we fight the powers of a nega, of this plague that we are facing now? There's something that Hashem is providing us, obviously, that we have the tools. When we have the negative things, we have the positive tools too. So we have to look at the word nega and see that we could turn around and make it into einig. And einig means a geshmak. Einig means tainug. Tainug in Chassidus is keser, which is beyond seichel, beyond rationality. It's an enjoyment that we have in God, enjoyment that we have in Torah mitzvahs, and that's the opposite. That's the tool that we fight nega, transforming nega into einig, just turning around the letters, meaning that we take this opportunity instead of focusing the negative of the nega, gewalt. We have to turn around and say, let's have a geshmak in Hashem. Let's have a geshmak in learn Chassidus. Let's have a geshmak in Torah mitzvahs. And suddenly you see that light itself pushes away the nega. Instead of questioning about the thing and how are we going to get rid of this, bring that light of einig into ourselves, into our lives, into our loved ones. Bring the geshmak of Torah mitzvah, geshmak of chassidus, and everything that we need to do with that. Not just do it because we have no choice in a dry way, but do it einig. Suddenly you see this einig pushes away the nega completely, and maybe that's all we need to do, because the Rabbi once said that maybe the only thing is missing to bring the gula is simcha. So now the Eibush is giving us a difficult challenge. You might challenge. You see, now simcha, in such a day, some people are depressed, some people are looking for psychiatry, some people are looking for all kind of this. We got it all in chassidus. What's psychiatry? Is nothing better, no better than remedy than chassidus. To bring a geshmak, you suddenly open a sefer, you learn chassidus. Wow, I love Hashem, I love Torah mitzvahs. What it says here enlightens my life, it changes my life. So we have all the tools. Let's change nega to einig, let's say tzara to tzoyar, and the Eibusha Zicher helfen, and we are very, very close to redemption. I think at this moment, people are making plans. Okay, when things get back to normal, how is it going to be? Is it going to be the same as before? Is it going to be better, worse? I'm thinking to myself, imagine the Eden, when the Eibusha says, Al Yetzu Ish Mepesach Beisa Adbeikon, Hashem said, nobody should, right before about to leave Mitzrayim, the last Makkah, don't leave your home, stay there. Imagine people sitting at home and making plans. Okay, Mitzvah Hashem, once we're out of the house, we'll go back to Goshen, and this one's going to be back to building his pyramids, and this one's going to start making plans to go back to Mitzrayim. We're not going backwards, we're going forwards. Now from here, we're going out of the Golus. That's how we have to look. Making plans, how it's going to be now back to the normal schedule. We're going to do that. Schedule is behind us. We are now, our plans are, let's study the Beis Hamikdash. Let's realize that once we are standing in Harabais, we better know where is the entrance, how to go in, and not to go start going around in circles. Where is the entrance? What's the first thing you walk in? Which chambers to your right? Which chambers to your left? How far you? All these things we should be preparing ourselves. This should be our plan for the future, not just in theory. Mamash is Pasha to know, to study, to prepare ourselves to learn Yonah Gula Mashiach and be ready, knowing that Mamash, everything, the world, everyone is talking about it. Everyone's talking about it. It's not a Chabad thing anymore. The whole world is talking about Mashiach, ot. So this has been already in the mouth of everyone, from our mouth to God's ears. The Rebbe's take us out of goes now, l'chaim, l'chaim.
I just want to share one story for everyone. It says on Mapil. I think you know the name of the person. I may be saying his name incorrectly. I think it was about Hirsch Gansberg, who lost his wife on the second day of Sukkot in 1970. And his wife passed away. 5 orphans, Rachmana litzlan, and he was 42, 43. She was 42, and Chol Sukkot, you can't do mourning during Sukkot. Mourning begins after Sukkot. And a night of Simchas Torah, he went to a shul in East Flatbush to bring the joy of Simchas Torah to this shul. As the Rebbe says that you should go on Yontif to another shul and bring the joy of Yontif to this shul. So he went with his children, his 5 orphans, to bring the joy of Yontif to this shul in East Flatbush. And he danced, and everyone noticed how he danced. In fact, people who were there, one gentleman was there many years later, in seeing how devoted he was to bringing simcha to people, he decided to begin a fund that would bring simcha to many shuls on Yontif because of what he saw there. But anyways, this guy danced and danced. And the next day, he came to the Rebbe's Farbrengen. And the end of Yontif, the Rebbe would Farbrengen. And Mordechai Yodas Kol Hashanasa. Mordechai knows what happens to the Jewish people. The Rebbe knows what's going on in this person's mind, and what's going on in his heart, how he lost his wife. The Rebbe looks at him by the Farbrengen. The Rebbe begins to sing. Which means in fire we will not burn, and in water we won't drown. And the Rebbe started singing the song. And Rebbe stood up and danced and encouraged him. In fire we won't burn, in water we won't drown. This is there are people which have real challenges in Simcha. The real legitimate challenges for Simcha, not imaginary. But Simcha, as Rabbi Gun said, is something inside of us. The Simcha is not something. And fire doesn't burn and water doesn't drown. The Yid has Simcha inside of him. This is what Rabbi taught us, to have Simcha, should become one with the mitzvahs that we do, become one with the Torah that we learn, and even throughout the day, to feel divine providence, to look for divine providence. So I'll conclude with this. Actually, not to conclude, let's begin with this. Let's begin tomorrow with this. The 3 teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. One teaching of the Baal Shem Tov is that God creates the world every moment out of nothing. Every single moment, God brings the whole world into existence. And the Baal Shem Tov says we have to think about that. The second teaching of the Baal Shem Tov is that everything that happens, even a leaf blowing in the wind, is by divine providence. And the third teaching of the Baal Shem Tov is that whatever you see is a message from God. So Rabbi was connected to God all day, his entire life, and that's what he accomplished like B Omer, to achieve a perfect union with Hashem. So we have to take from like B Omer, to connect with Hashem in our Torah study, to really have a time to study Torah, to cherish the time to study Torah, to love the time we have to study Torah, to cherish the mitzvahs that God gives us, and to look for and to feel God's presence, whatever we're doing, to feel that when you eat something, you eat something, you feel that you weren't nourished because of the nutrients in the food, you were nourished because of God's energy, that God sustained you. So Chaim, we should merit to leave this exile immediately, the simcha, with the gladness of heart with Mashiach.
L'chaim, l'chaim, l'chaim. A good yom tov, a good yom tov.
Yom tov, good yom tov, good yom tov.